Once again, welcome back to the program. ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਰਾਜਕਮਲ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਚਰਚਾ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਘਰਾਂ 'ਚ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਦੀ ਜਦ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜੋ ਹਨ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਕੀ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਦਾ? ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਹਿਮੀਅਤ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਾਡੇ ਫੋਰ ਫਾਦਰਸ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਕੀਤਾ, ਇਸ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਕਿਉਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ? ਕੀ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ? ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਥ ਦੇਣਗੇ ਰਾਜਕਮਲ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ। ਜੀ ਆਨੰਦ ਜੀ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। So when we talk about the Sikh identity, basically what we are finding today in the society is something different. You being a youngster, you have been going to the school, to the university. What do you find? Why is it that the youngsters especially feel that Sikh identity is no more important? Is it that they have not been told about it, or is it that they feel that this was a time when the gurus were there, or our forefathers were there? There was a time when they preserved the Sikh identity, but not anymore.
I think, Uncle Ji, the main reason why children are not connecting with their identity is that they have not been told the values behind why they should conform or they should be in a certain sarup,
right,
or to look a certain way. That explanation has not been filtered down, that those values, that sense of strength that comes by standing out, or that sense of confidence that comes by looking different from everybody else.
Okay.
That hasn't come. Instead, people are feeling, or our Sikh bache are feeling very not confident. They're not feeling
not connecting
strong.
Probably not connecting with this
They're not connecting with their identity, and therefore they're not confident in the larger community. They're
Right.
not confident on any scale that you put them, whether it's in front of a classroom or it's in front of their friends.
Right.
And because of that disconnect with that sense of spirituality that comes with keeping an identity,
Right.
then there is a mishmash. Are we Canadian or are we Sikh? If we are Canadian, then why do we have to keep a Sikh identity?
Right.
If we are Sikhs, then why do we have to do the Taur Tariqe of the Canadian way? So there's that contention, Eastern versus Western. What way should we live our lives?
So is it that from the mainstream they feel threatened or not at par with them, that they are not understanding this identity, or it's from amidst ourselves only that we feel inferior if anybody is carrying on that Sikh identity?
Mainstream definitely has a very big role to it, because everything on mainstream, no one looks like you or me.
Right.
No one even looks like my cousins who have lambiyan gutta, or nobody looks like my mataji or my biji who she wears a jura and a dupatta.
Right.
Because of those lack of representations within our media, there's nothing that we have that supports our identity in the visual sense.
Right.
Media, Western media tells us that a young woman, in order for her to be good looking, she must have her hair open, her hair must be cut, it must be styled a certain way, her eyebrows have to be like this, she needs to be wearing certain clothes. I can
Right.
speak to a woman's perspective because
Right.
that's how I grew up.
Absolutely.
If she's not wearing that certain skirt, or if she doesn't have that certain hairstyle, then she starts to wonder why.
Right.
Why don't I look that way? Why am I not allowed to look that way?
Okay.
That's where the conversations at home, Uncle Ji, need to be taking place.
So that means they are not threatening you, they are living their own way. The mainstream is living its own way.
Uncle Ji, the mainstream media entire purpose is to influence you.
Well, everyone.
Hanji.
Right. So, but it is their way of life and they are welcome to that. But don't you think that there we have failed in propagating this message starting from the home to the community level?
Oh, I
that
agree
we have
with
not
you.
been able to tell what does this identity means. And as you started in the beginning about the values, what is associated with it? Maybe today, let's be blunt and let's talk about families. What's happening? The father might have shown hair, but they are keeping the child is having a juda and he's going to the school. The moment he is in his senses, the first thing he does is cut off his hair.
Ji.
So this kind of thinking which is prevailing, what do you think? What's the talk amongst the youngsters about this?
The talk is that they have not been taught why.
Right.
They've been taught to do this, this, and this, but they haven't been told the reasons behind it. And the way that we are taught within Lalo from kindergarten all the way up to university ages is that we always know the why. We know the reasons behind something.
Right.
So our minds have been trained to question, and when we aren't receiving the answers that we're looking for, then a disconnect happens.
Right.
So the values that we're talking about behind keeping our Sikh identity, let's share some of those with our Sangat. So one that we can say is, my Pitaji, the way he used to explain it to me is that just as a policeman has their uniform,
Right.
they have a certain sense of authority. In the same way, a Gursikh has a certain sense of authority,
Right.
or a certain pledge of allegiance to their guru. Just as a uniformed officer, or even if we draw a larger or a closer comparison, with our own faith, Guru Gobind Singh Ji ne apan nu kiha siga to be a Sant Sipahi.
Right.
So a warrior saint.
Right.
So when we look at the warrior, what is a Sipahi? What is a soldier? They make a complete allegiance to their country.
Right.
Who is our country? What is our country? What's our foundation?
The Panth, yeah.
The Panth, right?
Right.
The Guru's word. Ultimately, whatever the Guru says, that's what goes. So when you have that allegiance, you know that you have a commitment to something that's higher than yourself.
Right.
Studies have now shown that those who are committed to something that is bigger and greater and beyond themselves, they have less stress in life,
Right.
and they are naturally those type of people who want more out of life than just work, school, and play.
Very true.
And so because right away, look how our gurus gave us this formula to something that we might not even equate. It is a sense of commitment, and then it's also, hey, I'm doing something different that not everybody else has the ability to perhaps do.
Right.
I am my way because I'm unique. If you ever go for a job interview now, they're looking for people to be unique.
Absolutely, and rather you are given credits for that you are, your focus is on a particular thing and you cannot be sidelined from that.
Ji.
Now, another question which arises is that amongst the Sikhs also, like the identity which you are carrying on,
Ji.
when you go to the college, when you were going to the college or in the university or in the
Ji.
school, did you find some issues, challenges with amidst our own community members only, our youngsters, that they were in a separate kind of identity and you were carrying on this identity? So was there any conflict over there, and were you, like you said, your father was able to tell you the importance, you knew the value of this, and that is why probably you could talk to them and tell them the importance of this. But on the whole, because many a times parents also don't know, because we have listened from our parents
Ji.
that yes, just keep your hair.
Ji.
Why? Because our gurus kept it, because we were given this by our guru.
Ji.
But why is missing over there?
Ji.
So can you relate with that and let me know if there is any instance whereby in the school, college or university there was some discussion amidst the Sikh community members only, students, that what you are doing is something different?
Sure, it definitely was, Uncle Ji. When I was 6 years old, that's when I first started tying a dastar. And at that time, there were only a handful of Sikh women who were tying dastara.
Right.
It was literally both of the Gyanijis, Rashtriya Gurdwara and Asuri Gurdwara, their wives, and then a few people that we knew within our own circle.
Right.
And we knew them all by face, we knew them all by name. As I grew up, there was a resurgence of young women starting to wear dastara. But all throughout my elementary years, until my grade 12th year, at the end of my grade 12th year, there was one other girl in a school of 600 people
Right.
that decided to wear dastar. So I've always been unique in that aspect, that yes, this was something that I felt comfortable to do. The discussion definitely between girls of my age, whether it was in grade 11, 12, and in my university years, that used to take place, because that's the time where we used to have meetings, for instance, within our Sikh Student Association,
Right.
and that allowed us to ask questions of each other. And I think that's really important. And the main question used to come out of it is that we thought that the Sikh dastar, which is the same question actually that the Western mind or Western culture thinking has, we thought that a Sikh turban, only men wore it.
Right.
So how come you as a Sikh woman wear a turban?
Right.
And my answer used to be is that I know that my guru, when he gave out his instruction to everybody,
It was for everyone.
it was for everyone. And that was a choice that you can personally make,
Right.
to wear the star, to wear the batta, or to keep your juda, however you felt comfortable.
Right.
And this was something that I felt comfortable, this is something I felt connected with.
Right.
Because I always felt when I tied my dastar that it was a crown. And I think that our young people today, they have not been given that word.
Right.
They have never been given that the dastar is a spiritual crown.
Right.
And then when we adorn it, like on occasions, someone's wedding or just some function, and we place khande on our dastar, or you drape it with a beautiful dupatta, then its glamour becomes even more obvious,
Right.
and that beauty comes out of it.
Right. Now that's a very important point what you have touched, glamour. And every every girl wants to be glamorous, but
जी.
that glamour, what we are seeing today in the society, is something different. So how to connect with that, we'll talk after this break. छोटी जी ब्रेक लेने जी वापस आने। ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਾਜਕਮਲ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਸਿੱਖ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੇਨ ਸਟ੍ਰੀਮ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਹਿਮ ਰੋਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ। ਵੈਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਰੋਲ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜਿਸ ਸਮਾਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੁਹਿਰਦਤਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਘਟਦੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਉਸ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਕਾਰਨ ਹਨ? ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਇਸ ਦੀ, ਕੋਈ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਸਿਰਫ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਾਲ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਪਰੰਪਰਾ ਹੈ, ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰੂਆਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ। ਕਿਉਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਕਰਾਰ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ, ਨਾ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਜ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਟਰੈਂਥ ਬਣ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਵਾਬ ਵੀ ਦੇ ਸਕਾਂਗੇ। ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਰਾਜਕਮਲ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਦਸਤਾਰ ਸਜਾਉਂਦੀ ਸੀ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਿੰਸੈਸ ਸਮਝਦੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਜ ਪਹਿਨਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਇਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬੈਠ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਮਹੱਤਤਾ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਵਾਬ ਵੀ ਦੇ ਸਕਾਂਗੇ, ਉਸ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਨਟੇਨ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਾਂਗੇ। ਇसी विषय पर गलबात चलती रहेगी। देखते रहो द हरप्रीत सिंह शो।
ਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਜ਼ੇ ਦੇ ਬੋਝ ਹੇਠ ਦੱਬੇ ਹੋ? ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਕੀ ਕਰੋ?
ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮਸ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਮਾੜਾ ਅਸਰ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ 'ਚ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ।
ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕਰਜ਼ੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਘਟਾ ਕੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਰਕਮ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਕਿਸ਼ਤਾਂ 'ਚ ਬਦਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ।
ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਜ਼ੇ ਤੋਂ ਮੁਕਤ ਕਰਾ ਕੇ ਨਵੀਂ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਜੀਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ।
1866-790-8984 ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨਜ਼, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪਰੇਸ਼ਾਨੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਥੀ।
ਅੱਜ ਇਸ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਹਿਮੀਅਤ ਹੈ। ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੂਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸਾਡੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਵੈਲਿਊ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੁਰਬਾਨੀਆਂ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਉਣ ਲਈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਹਾਂ, ਦੂਸਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੋਸ਼ ਲਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਸੁਹਿਰਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਾਂ। ਇਸੇ ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਨੌਜਵਾਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਟੈਕਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ। ਜੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥਣ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕਾਲਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ, ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਸ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਕਰਾਰ ਰੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ, ਤਾਂ ਬਾਕੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੈ, ਕੀ ਚੈਲੰਜਸ ਨੇ? ਆਓ ਅੱਗੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਬਿਫੋਰ ਦ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਵੀ ਟਾਕਿੰਗ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਦੈਟ ਗਲੈਮਰ, ਵਾਟ ਯੂ ਸੈਡ। Today, a girl feels that to be glamorous, she has to cut her hair. I'm talking of the Sikh girls only because we are focusing on that.
Ji.
Any religion which anyone believes in, they are most welcome to believe
Ji.
in that.
Ji.
We don't have any issues with that.
Ji.
But for a Sikh girl, for a Sikh woman, the identity, outside identity is very important along with the internal identity,
Ji.
which we'll talk later on. So why is it that a girl today, a Sikh girl feels that to be glamorous, to be looking good, she has to be something different? Why can't she follow that pattern which was established by her gurus?
Because there's been a break in continuity. There has been, from the Guru period until today, there have been so many hamle, or let's say there have been so many oppressive regimes from the Mughal Empire, the British, and today the Western media.
Right.
Within the 80s till now, let's take it. That's something I can speak to because that's of my generation
Right.
onwards. Because of that constant pressure, and the pressure is so underneath the carpet. It's not like a big commercial that comes on TV and it says you need to look like this in order to be beautiful.
Right.
But all there is on TV is young women who are super skinny, who have loads of makeup on,
Right.
and they have stylized hair. That hair is normally about shoulder length.
Right.
And this day and in this age, in order to identify with that means to identify with glamour, because that's what our young women are bombarded with
Right.
over and over and over again. And the amazing thing is that what a lot of young women don't know, or even families or general population in general doesn't know, is that all of those images, 99.9% of those images have been airbrushed.
Right.
So they have been changed with a computer. The color of the skin, the how big the eyes are, how big or small the waist is, everything. That woman on a front cover of a magazine
Is absolutely different than what she is.
She's not real.
I agree with you. But the
Yeah.
question is, there are many communities who have been able to preserve their identity, who have been able to preserve their culture.
Ji.
But why is it that the Sikh women are not being able to, withstand this bombardment? Is it that we have not been able to inform them the importance? Is it that at the homes these things are not talked about? Is it that the parents have themselves discarded all this? Are these the major reasons, or just the bombardment from the media is the major reason?
It's number one, media has a huge role in it, because you can't go anywhere in the world with not having some sort of influence by that.
Right.
Number two is that our homes are no longer our learning centers.
Right.
Our mothers and fathers are no longer our gurus, which they were at one period. The whole point of having Waheguru and having Barni is so that flow can come through a teacher, whether it's your mother, your father, your grandmother, come through and teach you,
Right.
the children, of this path. And so when that's been disconnected, when, for instance, a mother or father doesn't even know why I keep hair myself, it's just
Right.
because I was born in India and I've been doing it all my life, how are they going to explain to their children?
Ji.
And are they taking the time to read books or find YouTube clips? Because now on YouTube, there's prachariks from all over the world. And they're not only in English, but they're in Punjabi and Hindi and other languages too.
Right.
So we can't say that the resources aren't out there. It depends on us to see what is a priority in our own lives.
But that priority will only come, Rajkanwal ji, if you know the value of that. If I feel that as a common person, you and me, what's the difference? A girl sees you and a girl who has shorn her hair, she feels that there's no difference. She's also living the same life what you are living, and that glamour what you are talking.
Ji.
She feels mesmerized by that glamour, and she is not condemning you, but she feels, what is this awkward thing what she's wearing in this society to fit into the society?
Ji.
Don't you think that also, that peer pressure also works a lot?
Peer pressure is huge, Uncle G. What your peers not necessarily say to you, but how they just look at you with their eyes, how they act a certain way because someone has a new haircut and all of a sudden she is seen to be a lot more glamorous, seems to be the word that we keep on using again
Right.
and again. But the reality of the situation is that giving your child a unique identity gives them a reference point. And when they always have a reference point of every morning, I have to wake up and I have to tie my case up
Right.
on the top of my head, it gives a realization to us that there's something bigger than us.
Right.
There's something that's to be revered. There's something that I need to keep on striving for, to keep on learning for. And especially as a young woman going through this day and age, there are going to be a lot of times, life is like a roller coaster.
Right.
Actually, you can't even say what age group or culture. Life is like a roller coaster for everybody.
Right.
Sometimes you're high and you're laughing and you're giggling, and other times it comes very low. Sometimes it comes so far down and so quick that you don't even realize.
Right.
But when you have that constant in your day, every single day, I as a young woman have to wake up and I have to tie my dastar. And I learned that it's like wrapping my destiny again and again around my forehead. It's just a metaphor.
So associating something with this
Ji.
also kind of influences you
It's
to carry on.
Hanji, it's a sense of positivity.
Right,
You're
right.
giving a child a boundaries. Now, if we just even take this water,
Right.
if we're saying our spirit and our essence is within the water, if we didn't have a cup, how is it going to be contained?
Right.
It's going to be everywhere. The star has also been given the metaphor of containment.
Right.
It contains the energy,
Right.
so that when our energies do get scattered, and when I mean by energies, I mean our emotions.
Right.
Simply as young people, when our emotions get tied up in feeling that other people look different than us, or feeling attracted to somebody, or feeling not good in school, or feeling that my career path isn't going to work out,
Right.
this is something that grounds us
Right.
once again. Because it
Absolutely.
is, you are the Guru's child.
Very true. So, also, do you feel that the Sikhs who have been having this identity, have they also failed in portraying the importance by way of their character, by way of their behavior? Because many times we interacting with the youngsters, when they say identity, they said, "What identity? What are you talking? Are they superior to us? If they were superior, their behavior, their character would have been different." So do you also feel demoralized by this aspect that, of course, exceptions are always there, but majority of the cases where we find people who are carrying on this outside faith, outside identity, their behavior in the society has not been at par what it should have been, and that also demoralizes the youngsters?
I think, Uncle G, at this point, we can't say that these people and us. I feel that as a community,
Right.
we have, or we are failing our young people. Because if there's one thing that I've learned, is the very first word in Guru Granth Sahib Ji is ik.
Right.
Not even going into Onkar, but just ik. And ik, meaning one,
Just
signifies unity.
Right.
Unity between me and you, unity between everybody and anybody, regardless if they're a Sikh or not.
Right.
So if we look at that point, we have to realize that there is the Shabad and then there are the people.
Right.
Do not look at the faith based on the people, because if that's what you will do, then you will always see the bad things in life.
Right.
You will always see the humanistic actions. But if you look at the teachings, if you look at the sacrifices, if you look at the godly saints and sages who are really living the word of the Guru,
Right.
the values that are Guru, nirpo, nirvair.
Right.
What does that mean? To be fearless, and that means to have no revenge on anybody in life.
Absolutely, I fully appreciate what you are saying, but then again the same question that do the youngsters feel that the Sikhs who have maintained this identity have also failed in their behavior and character? It's not a question of I or you, it's a question of the Sikhs as a whole. How does the youngsters perceive this? Because many times we have been hearing this thing. Today, a Sikh girl wants a clean-shaven boy.
Ji.
They are not wanting a boy with a dastar.
Ji.
Why? Because they say, if you give some examples and try to be rational with them, they say, "Oh, what did he do?" Because there are always the negative examples are there. There are many positive which we don't look to, but there are many negative things which one focuses on. So my question is that do you feel that this also is a concern amongst the youngsters, that this aspect of our internal purity,
Hanji.
internal alliance with the Gurbani should also be emphasized?
Hanji, Uncle Ji, they are disappointed. We as a youth are disappointed. I can give you one example. A young group of professionals, they came together to make an organization that wanted to do many different things within the Sikh community, but one small example is that they wanted to change the langar system
Right.
so that it would be more healthy. Because them as professionals, in the sense that they are doctors and optometrists
Right.
and blood workers and things like that, they have realized is ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭੋਜਨ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਸ਼ਾਦੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, all of that khana is really affecting our older generation,
Right, right.
and then it's pouring down to us, those
Right.
bad eating habits.
Right.
Sorry to say, but none of the gurdware were
Ready to implement
ready
that.
to implement
Because
them.
they just want to follow that tradition and
Hanji.
nobody wants to take initiative. It's a wonderful topic. I think we need to continue with the discussion. So in our next episode, we will continue with this discussion as to there are many other facets to what we are talking. How to now bring that thought back amongst those who want or who can carry on with the Sikh identity. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਸ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜੀ, ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਟੀਨਿਊ ਰੱਖਾਂਗੇ. ਸਿੱਖ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਰਾਜਕਮਲ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਮਹੱਤਵਪੂਰਨ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਕੀ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ ਹੋਇਆ, ਪੀਅਰ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਪਿਆ, ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਫਰਕ ਪਿਆ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਖਲੋਤੇ ਹਾਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ? ਕੀ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਤਿਆਰ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਜ਼ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲਸ ਅੱਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ? ਕੀ ਸਮਾਜ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰੋਲ ਮਾਡਲਸ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ? ਤੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਬਿਹੇਵੀਅਰ ਹੈ, ਕਰੈਕਟਰ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ? ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਰੈਕਟਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਸਮਾਂ ਖਾਦੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਅੱਜ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਿਲੀਵ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ? ਤੇ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਅੱਜ ਬੱਚੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਫੜ ਕੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਪਰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਮਾੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਛੇਤੀ ਫੈਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ. ਸੋ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਇਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਪਾਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਇਹ ਕਰੀਏ? ਕੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕਰੈਕਟਰ ਜੋ ਰਿਫਲੈਕਟ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ? ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੋਈ ਸਵਾਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰਨਾ 604 603 7555 ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਈਮੇਲ ਰਾਹੀਂ harpreetsingh@gmail.com. ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਤੁਸੀਂ youtube.com ਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ /harpreetsingh ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਧੰਨਵਾਦੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਪਾਂਸਰ ਦੇ ਐਡਵਰਟਾਈਜ਼ਰਸ ਦੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਦੌਲਤ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਦੇ ਨੇ. ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਸੰਸਥਾ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੁੜੇ, ਕਿਸੇ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੁੜੇ, ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਉਹ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਚਰਚਾ ਕਰਨੀ ਲਾਜ਼ਮੀ ਬਣਦੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਹਟ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਟ੍ਰਿੰਗ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਅਟੈਚਡ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ. ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਸਪਾਂਸਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਥਰੂ ਐਡਵਰਟਾਈਜ਼ਮੈਂਟ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦੀ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ. ਫਿਰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਬਾਏ.